Hey guys, Dantics here. I've now spent dozens of hours with Star Wars Zero Company, and I think I found what could be the game's biggest strength. On the surface, it's an XCOM style tactics game, but once you start digging into the specializations, talents, weapon choices, mods, and eventually dual specializations, you'll realize this is less about picking a class and more about creating completely broken builds. Want a sniper that never misses? You can do that. Want a gunslinger that empties half the battlefield before anyone else gets a turn? Yep. How about a heavy that focuses the entire enemy team to attack them while retaliating for each slight against them? That's possible too. Today I'm going to go through every basic specialization, every talent, what they actually do, and the ones that stood out during my time. This will help you decide on your character's starting specialization. Since I didn't get to play the entire game, there will be a lot of surprises that I don't cover, but there still are a lot of combos that I'm going to go through that are absolutely ridiculous. So let's jump into it. There are 8 basic specializations that Hawks and your other operatives can pick and change between. These are the Assault, which focuses around fast movement, getting up close and flanking enemies; the Gunslinger, which likes to stack insane amounts of shots in a single turn; the Heavy, which you might have guessed is your tank and the only specialization that can taunt enemies without particular mods; the Medic, which is better at healing your specialists as well as giving them combat buffs; the Scoundrel, which focuses on assisting other specialists with bonus damage and shots; the Scout, which generates advantage to spend on your big skills as well as ambushing individual targets; the Sharpshooter, which increases their own chance to hit and damage at the cost of movement; and finally, Soldier, which is good up close, from far, and taking out multiple targets with grenades and the rocket launcher. All of these specializations you can invest into freely when at the den and swap between on Hawks and your other characters, custom or not, that aren't locked into a specialization. These advanced specializations can't be changed by the characters that come with them. So far, Talria is locked into her Padawan specialization, and Clyde the Mandalorian is locked into her Warrior specialization. Astromechs are also locked into theirs. There is likely other secret ones we have yet to reveal. Each character has a talent. Hawks has Fearless Leader, and this can't be changed. All authored characters have their own that can't be changed. For example, Cab Uppercut has his signature uppercut attack. However, custom characters' talents can be freely changed. When you click on Change Specialization, you can see there are 10 talents to choose from as well. Note that each operative can equip any of the 4 weapon types, which are Pistol, Rifle, Long Arm, and Repeater. The Astromech and the Jedi are exceptions to this rule, with the Astromech not being able to equip any weapon, instead getting more slots for utility items like grenades, and the Jedi Padawan getting lightsabers and access to Force Meditation instead of utility items. So if you're a Sharpshooter, you aren't locked into the Long Arm. You can have that specialization use a pistol if you want. This opens up a lot of build combinations. Specializations come with around 4 abilities: an ultimate that costs advantage, a standard ability that you can use in battle, and 2 passives, one of which you can invest into. You can invest into 3 total paths for each specialization using focus points. You earn these by taking combat missions, as rewards for operatives, or as rewards for bonding with other operatives. Each tier is more expensive than the last, with the final tier usually giving the ability a bigger upgrade, but not always. Later on in the game, after cycle 18, you'll unlock the ability to give your operators a second specialization, really opening up doors for combos, so keep that in mind while we go through them all. So starting with the Assault, we have their passive, Strike the Flanks. This operator gains a 20% crit chance bonus against exposed enemies. You'll learn what exposed is at the start of the game, but it's when the operator has a line of sight not blocked by cover against this target, or if your Scout specialization has taken a shot against them. It applies to any attack, including your melee. 20% is no small amount, considering you can upgrade your crit chance and damage through the joint training you can do when your bond reaches a certain level. The Assault's investable passive is Fleet of Foot. At the start, it increases your first movement by 1 meter. I found that movement range is very important in this game, and in the beginning, characters feel like they need to invest an entire turn to get anywhere, so extra movement is valuable. This passive can be increased 4 times up to 3 meters, which is much more noticeable than it sounds. The Assault's ability is a melee action called Bull Rush. Activating it, you get a bonus 2 meters of movement and look to charge into an enemy, pushing it backwards an amount and dealing 4 impact damage if that enemy hits anything. It's extremely useful to be able to melee in this game because it can't miss, and it gets your strike the flanks bonus. Also, being able to push means that yes, you can bull rush enemies off cliffs and instant kill them. This ability can be upgraded 5 times, each rank increasing its base damage and bonus movement range, up to 8 meters. So along with fully upgrading your fleet of foot, your first movement will be 11 meters extra, which is often the full length of many combat arenas. This means with a single action point you can traverse the map and bull rush a target. Usually moving and attacking will take at least 2 action points, and getting that far usually takes 3 action points. Finally, we have the Assault's ultimate, Sweeping Salvo. It consumes a low 4 advantage to use rather than an action point. In a cone, the Assault sweeps an area with blast of fire, dealing damage and disorientating enemies. Enemies who are disorientated take a minus 20% chance to hit. This sweep benefits from upgrades to blaster damage, like from your weapon mods, has an effective range and can't critical hit. It can be upgraded 5 times, with each rank improving its damage and effective range, with the last rank also removing the restriction on crits, meaning that this powerful sweep can now benefit from strike their flanks. It can be fired 3 times per combat with no turn limit, so if you have a way of generating advantage, you could do this multiple times a turn. The Assault's role in a fight is to be constantly moving, picking off exposed targets by pushing them off cliffs or into each other, and sweeping down groups of them to mitigate large amounts of damage. As a mobile specialization, they're also good at taking objectives and getting out, and you need someone on your team who can help with that.
Stem.
The Gunslinger is next, and their passive, Onslaught, makes it so within a single turn, each time you fire your weapon, you get +1 blaster damage. The bonus only applies to their primary weapon, not the sidearm you use for quick draw or any other weapons you might slot into your utility slot. So you'll want to be trying to fire as much as possible with this specialization in order to rack up damage. Their investable passive is Keen Eye. It gives the operator +6% crit chance for range attacks, and it can be invested into 4 times, increasing the chance all the way up to 18%. Considering how many attacks you'll be getting off with the Gunslinger, this means you'll be critting often. You'll do this with the Quick Draw ability. It has a 25% chance to hit penalty, but if you defeat an enemy with it, you restore the AP it costs to use it. So you approach a group of scrub enemies like the B1 battle droids and quick draw them all down, costing you no action points unless you miss. This will stack up Onslaught stacks, and then when you use your basic attack, it will be much stronger. Quick Draw has 5 ranks, and each increases its base damage and reduces the hit chance penalty until the penalty vanishes completely, making Quick Draw just as accurate as your base attack. Open Fire is their ultimate, and it costs 9 advantage instead of AP. It lets you attack your target twice or 2 separate targets. These shots have the bonus of Onslaught applied, so if you quick draw down 3 targets, fire 3 times using all your AP, then use Open Fire, these shots will get a bonus of 6 damage each, and that's not an extremely rare situation to be in. However, I did find this ultimate without investment to not be quite as good as the others. However, with 5 ranks invested, it gets a 20% bonus chance to hit, and it fires 3 times, making it extremely powerful and flexible. This ultimate also has no use limit, so it can be used multiple times a turn. The Gunslinger is great at taking out the masses, and once it does, it can follow up by taking out strong high value targets. It takes some good positioning and the foresight to not just instantly clear scrubs with grenades, but a good Gunslinger can do some serious work, especially with mods and utilities that raise its accuracy, or when you get the chance to dual specialize going into the Sharpshooter. Next is the Heavy. It has heavy armor training, which naturally gives this operator +2 defense, meaning that attacks coming in will be reduced by 2. It also has a bonus passive, Intimidating Posture. It makes it so the operator's primary blaster attack now taunts the target on hit. Taunting targets force them to attempt to attack you, so there are some shenanigans you can do with it. You can equip a pistol and shoot 3 targets across the battlefield, keeping your team safe, or equip a long arm and hit a target from far away, forcing them to move from their advantageous position and try to run towards you, maybe even skipping all your allies along the way. The Heavy's investable passive is Conditioning. It raises the operator's max health by 4 all the way up to 20. Their ability is Unstoppable. It makes it so you gain 2 stacks of retaliation. If you're attacked, you burn a stack to counter-attack the enemy. Each rank increases the retaliation damage up to a bonus of 4. At the final rank, you can also cast this on an ally, so if one is particularly powerful and about to be attacked, it can be useful. Though the intention behind this ability is to taunt enemies and have them take the extra damage from the Heavy, which is easier with their ultimate, Bulwark. It lets you taunt all targets in a large area, as well as increasing the Heavy's defense by 2 for the turn. Each rank increases the effective range, as well as the amount of bonus defense up to 6. Keep in mind, early on, the scrub enemies like the B1 battle droids will not be able to burn through that much armor. At max, it also grants the Heavy Impervious, which makes them immune to all status effects, and Immovable, making them unable to be pushed around. Later on, against more deadly enemies, this can be invaluable. This ultimate can only be used once a turn. So the Heavy is the tank of the group, allowing you to be a bit greedy with how you build your other operators. The Heavy can get their defenses so high they can, in many cases, take 0 damage from scrub enemies. Who needs heals and defense when you have one tanky guy absorbing it all?
I've seen brighter sparks from a decommissioned power coupling. Shot went wide.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Especially if you have a medic on your squad. Their first passive is First Responder. It makes it so this operator is permanently equipped with a med pack that has 2 charges and doesn't use a valuable utility slot, meaning no matter what, medics can heal your team. They also fully heal operators when using Rally on them. When allies reach 0 HP, they're downed, and you revive downed allies by rallying them. Life-saving measures is their investable passive. It increases the amount medpacks heal, yes, including your auto-equipped one, by 5% all the way up to 30%. Their ability Combat Stim is why you're here though. It throws a stim at the target ally for them to use on themselves, or you can use it on the medic. It grants a buff for 2 turns that increases max health and their damage. At the final rank, the buff lasts the entire fight, granting 3 bonus damage and 12 extra HP. Each rank increases the duration and the power of the buff. At the final rank, the buff lasts the entire fight, granting 3 bonus damage and 12 extra HP. This HP is granted like temporary health, so if you're currently at 1 HP, you'll go up to 13 when it's applied, making it feel like a heal as well. Using this, and well, anything that buffs or heals allies grants bond between the 2 operators. Bond is extremely important.
Yes, Commander.
And medics seem to have an easy time raising it. So you might consider a medic on your team first, then changing them later on. What also raises bond but with the whole squad is their ultimate morale boost. For 7 advantage, you grant allies 4 stacks of morale. At the start of their turn, they'll heal for the amount of morale they have times 2, then 1 stack is lost, so at 4 stacks they'll heal for 8, 6, 4, then 2 for a total of 20. At max rank, they'll get 10 stacks for a total of 110 healing over 10 turns. Also, morale makes it so operators ignore the chance to hit penalty from being injured. So at higher difficulties where allies are being downed more often, this could really help them get through some tough missions, which is what the medic is about. Group buffs, keeping everyone healthy, and getting through missions through perseverance. Remember, in Zero Company, taking damage doesn't end with a squad mate automatically getting an injury on the end screen. They only get an injury if they're downed, so you can be a bit more risky with a medic on board. The Scoundrel's next, and its passive makes it so all of this operator's attacks penetrate the target's defenses, ignoring up to 4 points, making them hit harder against tanky enemies, even with the low base damage pistol. Their investable passive is Never Play Fair. It increases their assist damage by 1 up to 5 at max, meaning that when it's time to assist, you'll want to select your Scoundrel to do so. Their ability is Identify Weakness. It targets a single enemy and makes them vulnerable, making it so the next attack against them crits. So if you have a character with buffed up crit damage, having a Scoundrel make a target vulnerable may be a winning combo. Each rank increases its effective range up to the final rank, which instead makes the target vulnerable ×2, making the next 2 attacks critically hit, which works very well with their ultimate, Easy Mark. For 7 advantage, the Scoundrel marks a single enemy. If another ally attacks this target, the Scoundrel will assist. If the operator that attacks crits, the Scoundrel will also crit. Marks do not expire at the end of the turn, so you can set up a crit combo that gets boosted by Never Play Fair. Each rank of this increases critical damage of the assist attack up to +6. The final rank also removes the once per turn restriction, meaning that you can now cast it again if you find a way to build up more advantage in that turn, possibly by using a scout, which we'll talk about soon. So this is a very powerful ability when fully upgraded, which is the Scoundrel in a nutshell. Overall, its kit sounds powerful, but it really shines with more focus points. The Scoundrel excels ultimately in burning down individual high priority targets, almost acting like the leader of the squad, marking what needs to die next. With some building around it, Scoundrels can be the glue that make your combo shine. Don't forget, by assisting a target, the operator that assists will never miss their shot. The Scout is next, and its first passive is the Spotter. Dealing damage with their blaster applies Spotted to the enemy, similar to how the Heavy applies Taunt. Spotted makes it so any chance to hit penalties against that target from being too far away or being in smoke is removed. So you'll not receive distance penalties for using, say, a pistol against a faraway target if they're spotted, and you'll often see the 100% chance to hit pop up. Their investable passive is Tactical Timing. It grants a 20% chance to gain 1 advantage when the spotter defeats an enemy. Any enemy, including the B1 droids. So you might start to see some combos come together with, say, the Gunslinger. Being together in a dual specialization, you can use Quick Draw against all of the B1 droids, get the 1 advantage for hitting and the extra 1 for defeating them, and it's 2 advantage for no AP cost multiple times a turn. This is, of course, when you consider that at max rank, this gives a 100% chance for that 1 advantage. Their advantage generation doesn't stop there. With their ability, Combat Recon, they can target an area. You get 1 advantage for each enemy in that area, and it reveals hidden enemies, which is more common than you'd think, especially with recoil. Each rank increases the range and area of effect up to 24 meters away and a 7 meter area. What do you do with all that advantage? Well, burn through it for a single powerful attack you can do once a turn. You spend all your advantage, as long as you have at least 4, to shoot an enemy for bonus damage. 2.5 bonus per advantage spent, up to 5 per advantage at max level, meaning that if you spend 10 advantage, you get 50 bonus damage, and I don't have to explain how good that is at boss murdering. So scouts can be built a few different ways, as snipers picking off high priority targets, or with pistols getting up close and spotting multiple targets, making it easier for everyone, including your snipers, to land those shots, or they can be used to generate massive advantage for your whole team to enjoy. I feel scouts will really come alive with dual specializations, as there's a lot of combos that will open up. The Sharpshooter is your more traditional sniper specialization. Their first passive is Sharpshooter Training. It gives them a plus 10% chance to hit on their blaster attacks. So you'll find that this specialization just hits more often than everyone else. Their investable passive is Pick Them Off. It buffs your Overwatch chance and damage, starting at 5% and 2 respectively, and going up to 25% extra chance to hit and 6 extra damage, making a Sharpshooter invest this way much better at overwatching than any other specialization. Their ability is Zero In. Cast it on yourself, you get 3 stacks of lethal, which increases your chance to hit by 5% and critical chance by 3% for each stack. Lethal is lost though if you move or are knocked out of place. Each rank increases the lethal stacks up to 8, which is a total of 40% chance to hit and plus 24% critical chance. Perfect for a sniper, but it also might get the numbers churning in your head. I used the Gunslinger as an example before, so let's continue that train. Imagine spending an action point getting into position, then another using zero in, then unleashing quick draws on enemies which now won't miss and has a high chance to crit. Then follow it up with a basic attack, then use your double shot ultimate for huge damage. There are so many more combos to think about, but I'll leave it to you to ponder. Their ultimate is precision shot and it's perfect for those who hate missing. It makes the Sharpshooter fire a shot that never misses. Simple. Each rank increases the base damage and critical damage, all the way up to 50% bonus at max. It can also be fired once a turn. The Sharpshooter is a specialization focused around being a reliable damage dealer, aiming to shoot straight, land consistent damage, overwatch when it can't, and not do much else, because winning also means removing all of your enemies. Finally, we have the Soldier. Their passive is Arms Master, and it lets them do 2 extra blaster and grenade damage. Early on, this makes them stand out as great damage dealers. Their upgradable passive is Strength. It lets you throw grenades 2 meters further and deal 2 more melee damage, each rank increasing this until 6 meters and 6 extra damage. Not a small amount, because once again, 6 meters feels a lot further than it sounds. Their ability, Brutal Strike, feels as defensive as it is offensive. It's a melee attack, but unlike Bull Rush, it doesn't add any distance traveled and doesn't push them back, so you might need to invest in some speed training to make the most of it. However, it does melee damage to the target and dazes them. A dazed target can't attack on their turn, so they might as well be useless. Each rank increases Brutal Strike's base damage, and the final rank stuns the target instead of dazing, making it even more defensive and offensive if you've got some combos in mind. Stun a high value target and follow up with some bullets to the head. Brutal Strike is a lot more useful than it sounds. If you're 1 AP worth of distance away, you can get right up close to a target and melee them for a single action point, shoot them and then move forward. Remember, melee attacks count movement and attacking as a single action point unless more movement distance is needed. Their ultimate is by far the most flashy in the game. Rocket Strike absolutely devastates an area you target, damaging everything in the blast. Each rank improves the already considerable damage, with the final also making the survivors vulnerable, which means that the next attack will crit, which I'm sure your extra long grenade range will appreciate, as another AoE will certainly finish off the stragglers. Unlike the other specializations, the Soldier is hard to categorize. It has some great AoE with its ultimate, great all-around damage up close or medium range, and it can help you mitigate damage from priority targets. At the early stages of the game we got to play, the Soldier felt very powerful in any team combination. Now, I've gone through all the specializations, so let's have a brief look at all the talents. Each have 3 stages to invest into. First is the bigger they are, and it gives you up to 6 bonus damage against elite or boss enemies, making the operative great to bring when you know there'll be elite or boss enemies. The next is Anticipation, which lets you, for 1 action point, give this operator 1 stack of evasion, which makes the next attack against them automatically miss. Each rank increases the amount of times a turn it can be used, with the final rank letting you cast it on allies, making this useful on support characters or those being a little more risky. Cold-Blooded is next, and it, like Anticipation, applies a buff to yourself for an action point. This time, the Vicious buff, which makes it so the next ranged or melee attack they make is an automatic critical. However, it can only be used once a combat, up to 3 times a combat at max level, which also gives you 2 stacks. Now, if an operator builds around critical damage, or if they're the Sharpshooter using precision shot that gets that bonus 50% crit damage, then this can be very useful. Next is Taunt. With it, you can target a single enemy and taunt them once a turn. Each level reduces the damage they do as well, getting to -6 at max rank, making it so if there's a particularly deadly enemy on the battlefield, you might not need to bring a heavy if someone has this talent. Life of Labor is next, and it passively increases this operator's stats, starting with +5 health and +1 defense, and getting all the way up to +7 health, +2 defense, +4 melee damage, and +4 critical hit damage at max level. Really, you can make an argument for any specialization being able to use this, though I see assaults, heavies, and soldiers getting the most use out of it. Thievery is next, and it gives you bonus credits at mission's end if you use an operator with this talent in combat. It doesn't stack though, so you can't bring multiple thievery talents. At max level, it's +300 credits, so you are sacrificing some combat effectiveness for better rewards. Sabotage is next, and it lets you, once a combat, trigger an explosive object on the field anywhere for 2 advantage instead of using action points. Each rank increases the amount you can use this per combat, with the final rank making it unlimited. There are always explosive objects, but I haven't seen a situation where I needed unlimited uses. Espionage is next, and it's like thievery, giving you more bonuses at end of combat. This time it's intel, which at least very early on I found more useful because I like doing all the operations I can before they expire. These are the non-combat reward-based missions that need intel to commit to. The first rank is a 5 intel bonus, the last is 12. I tried an early team with operators that had espionage and thievery to see if it paid off, and generally speaking the missions were not a whole lot harder, and I did start to notice the extra income, though I'm sure the difficulty will increase and become more noticeable as time goes on. Grit is next, and for 1 action point you can apply invulnerable to the operator as well as give them an increase of 2 max health. It prevents the next damage done to you and then loses a stack. At max rank, it applies 2 stacks of invulnerable and gives +12 max health. You might be asking, how is this not better than anticipation, which just gives that dodge chance? Perhaps there are things that combo with evasion, and also that can be applied to any ally at max rank 3 times a turn. Fortitude is last, and it increases their defense by 2 while the operator is injured. Injuries happen when the operator is brought to 0 HP and downed. So maybe you want to put this on an operator when you are forced to play with an injured character. Though at max rank, you get 6 defense, and you don't get that chance to hit penalty when you have an injury. +6 defense is huge, so maybe you purposely injure an operative and risk the permadeath on 3 injuries in order to get this huge defensive bonus. So those are the talents you can equip on your non-authored operators. I won't run through the authored talents and specializations in this video, as we haven't had a chance to see them all yet, and I'm sure there are some secrets to uncover, though I will put them on the screen now. So to recap, the specializations in Zero Company seem to have one clear goal. Rather than locking you into a rigid class, they've given you building blocks to make them your own. Every specialization has a clear identity, but once you start mixing weapon types, utilities, talents, stat training, weapon mods, and eventually dual specializations after cycle 18, it feels like the number of possible builds is going to explode. Personally, I think that's where a lot of the replayability is going to come from. One playthrough you might build around a huge crit chain with Scoundrel and Sharpshooter, the next you could have an unkillable heavy leading the charge while a medic turns the squad into absolute tanks. Or maybe you just want a Gunslinger deleting half the map before anyone else gets a turn. We obviously haven't seen every authored talent, advanced specialization, or all of the endgame upgrades yet, so I'm sure there are still some crazy combinations waiting to be discovered, and knowing strategy games, the community is probably going to break this whole thing open within a few weeks. No doubt I'll be attempting to beat it on its highest difficulty as well. But let me know down below which specialization you're leaning towards. Personally, I'm torn between the Scout for all that advantage generation and the Soldier, well, because I like explosions. If this breakdown helped you out, leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know what you'd like me to cover next. I've still got plenty more Zero Company mechanics to dive into before launch, and a lot more videos coming. So, thanks for watching, and until next time, ciao friends.